Calvert. Thank you for listening to me today. Let me give you a little story. I think one of the things that we fail to do a lot of times is to recognize situations where this could apply, because it's kind of a weird situation. So let me just give you a little scenario that might have been a bit more prevalent in times past when certain segments of the population were strongly discouraged from voting, or maybe strongly discouraged from supporting their candidates. Let me tell a little story. This is a parable, it's not an actual event. On election day, Bob is standing on the sidewalk holding a sign supporting his favorite candidate. Sam is a big punk who hates the candidate that Bob is supporting. Sam is standing across the street with a baseball bat, and he yells to Bob and threatens to cave his skull in if he doesn't leave in the next 5 minutes. The race is really close, and Bob is afraid that this last little bit of effort of holding a sign might make a difference between winning and losing for his favorite candidate. So Bob makes the decision to stand his ground in spite of the lethal threat from Sam. Sam comes across the street, and Bob uses lethal force to defend himself against Sam. Because of the current law that requires a person to retreat and give up their rights when they are threatened, if they can retreat in safety, Bob may actually be subject to murder charges because he had an opportunity to retreat in safety, but he chose to stand his ground and defend himself instead of giving up his rights and retreating. I guess I have a problem with Bob being charged with murder because he chose to retain his rights and not flee in the face of a scoundrel who was threatening to kill him. I think this bill recognizes the rights of free Americans to not have to give up their rights. That's just kind of a basic principle that I think we should recognize in law. It's not a situation that comes up very often. I think it's a principle that should be recognized because this is an old English common law that's been kind of held over in American law. I think if you look in Black's commentary on the English common law, you'll see that this duty to retreat is part of old English common law. Arkansas recognizes English common law in statute. So even if you get rid of the duty to retreat in general, the duty to retreat will still exist in common law unless there is statutory language to nullify that English common law duty to retreat. Now this bill does that. This bill actually puts specific language in there that says you do not have a duty to retreat in this circumstance if you are following these specific guidelines. And so this duty to retreat literally has to be condemned in state code in order to override the English common law. We call it case law sometimes, but the English common law is from the 1600s. That's recognized in state law. I think it's 1604 is what the date is in state law. And so this is something that America is a little different than England. We recognize people's rights and we don't make them back down, generally speaking. And I think that is appropriate for free people, that we don't make them feel the need to back away when someone threatens them. Now, I think generally speaking, if I'm in a situation that doesn't really matter a whole lot, I want to back down. If I can walk away, I can run away to avoid having to kill somebody because maybe there's a misunderstanding or something. I would far rather do that. But if it's a scoundrel trying to make me give up my rights because he's a scoundrel and he's trying to maybe make my favorite candidate lose the election, I don't think I should be charged with murder because I stand my ground and defend myself. So I ask you to vote for this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Calvert. Are there any questions? I see no questions, Mr. Calvert. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.